All right, we're going to call the meeting of the Finance Committee to order on August 7th, 2024. Would the clerk please call the roll?
Alderman Thibodeau.
Here.
Alderman GOV is here. Alderman Moran. Alderwoman Timmons.
Here.
Alderman Clemens. Here. Alderman Clee.
Here.
Mayor Donches.
Here. All right, then the first item is public comment. Is there any member of the public who would like to speak to the committee regarding anything that's on the agenda tonight? And I don't see anyone, so we will move on to our communications. The first communication from Amy Gerard, Purchasing Manager, Alderman Govea.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. In regard to replacement vehicles for the chiefs in the amount not to exceed $174,000 funded from 81500 vehicle/surf, I'm going to make a motion to accept, place on file, and approve the purchase of 3 2025 Ford Explorers plus associated equipment and vehicle fit up with Grappone Ford Global Public Safety and Ocean State Signal Company in the amount not to exceed $174,000. Funding will be through Department 152 Fire Rescue, Fund 81500 vehicle/surf.
Yes, please.
All right. Adam Pliot, Assistant Chief, National Fire Rescue. So our 3 chief's vehicles are up for replacement, and we are replacing in kind. We have Ford Explorers currently. They've been great vehicles for us. They fit within the tight constraints of our station. The only change, the current vehicles that we have have V6 motors in them. The new ones will be 4 cylinders. Fuel economies improves by somewhere in the city of 6 to 10 miles per gallon. So trying to be mindful of the city's sustainability plan.
Any questions? Alderwoman Timmons.
Thank you, Mayor. I just have one question. How old are the old vehicles that you want to purchase? Replace the
2 of the
new
vehicles are 8 years old, and the 3rd vehicle is 11 years old.
ones? Oh, okay.
Let me check.
Anyone else? If not, all those in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Motion passes. Next communication from, well, we have 2 communications that deal with the same item, so we will call them first. It's Dawn Enright, Treasurer Tax Collector, regarding the purchase of various vehicles. If there's no objection, we'll just accept this one and place it on file. It simply supports the next one. The third one, communication from Amy Gerard, Purchasing Manager, Alderman Govea.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. In regard to replacement vehicles for fire marshals in the amount not to exceed $240,000 funded from 81500 vehicle/surf, I'm going to make a motion to accept, place on file, and approve the purchase of 4 2024 Ford F-150 lighting EV trucks and associated equipment for the vehicle fit up with Grappone Ford and Global Public Safety in the amount not to exceed $240,000. Funding will be through Department 152 Fire Rescue, Fund 81500 vehicle/surf.
All right, so I should interject a little bit here. The proposal here is to purchase these 4 electric vehicles, which are the Ford Lightnings. We demonstrated or showed these to the DPW has a group of these, and we showed them to the fire department, NFR, and they seem to be happy with them. There is, and this is, of course, consistent with the city's policy of trying to electrify as many of our vehicles as we can. There is some additional cost, but Doria Brown, the energy manager, is here to address that issue because the initial upfront cost is greater, but that's the net cost over the life of the vehicle is really not much different. But with that introduction, I will turn to Assistant Chief Pouliot and see if you have anything to add to that.
I just want to mention that what they're using right now for vehicles are SUVs, and those have not been the best vehicles for the Marshals Division. The biggest reason, we do the fire investigations, we carry evidence collection kits, things like that we use during the investigation. So we have our clean stuff and our soiled stuff, the tools we use, our protective clothing, in the same passenger compartment. So we really needed to get away from those vehicles and get a truck where we can separate clean from dirty. As the mayor said, we brought a Ford Lightning EV from Public Works over to our station to make sure that they would fit within the space constraints we have over at East Hollow Street. That's where our marshal's office is located. We're able to fit all 4 of those fine in the bay. There's plenty of room to mount the chargers in the ceiling. We've already had an electrician come in and look. We've got room on our panel for all that. So we're set to go there. And these are probably the only vehicles in our fleet that don't typically respond to emergencies. Yes, they do have lighting packages. Yes, they do go to calls, but they're not primary responders. These trucks generally don't leave the city. They're parked at night. They're not take-home vehicles. So to meet, the city's sustainability plan, these are really the vehicles in our fleet where we're able to do this, and we'd like to move forwards with this.
All right, thank you. And maybe if Ms. Brown could come up and just, you've analyzed the cost issue, and I'm sure there could be questions concerning that, so why don't you go ahead?
Absolutely. Happy to be here today talking about electric vehicles. So we have done a cost analysis on the Ford Lightnings versus what we have set in the Surf in price. So the total cost for the Ford Lightnings with chargers is about $246,950. What we had in the Surf markdown was $481,000. The chargers will be covered in a different way, so that's something that we don't have to worry about here. But the cost difference is about $56,469,000. But we are eligible for a tax credit for these vehicles, which is $30,000, and that takes the difference down to $26,469,000. But I did analysis for simple payback for the vehicles because EVs are a lot different than regular gas vehicles. You don't have to worry about oil changes and other maintenance. So maintenance costs for these vehicles, the electric, are about 9 cents per mile versus a comparable gas vehicle, which is about 15 cents per mile. And when you factor in that payback without the tax credit, it would be 5.8 years or about 6 years before we pay back the difference between the cost of the Ford Lightnings and what we have in the Surf. So that's less than the lifespan of that vehicle. But when you factor in the tax credit, which we are eligible for, that takes it down to less than 2 years, about 1.9 years before we pay back the difference of that cost and then realize a lot of savings in gas and in deferred maintenance costs. So I did want to add that to the conversation.
Alderwoman Clee.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and thank you. That's exactly what we were looking for when we had talked about wanting some kind of analysis. That's perfect. It's exactly what we were hoping for, so that we could speak to this, that the added upfront costs, is small compared to the over the life savings, and it's good for the green, it's good for the environment, and it shows that what the mayor had promised the people of Nashua is exactly what we're giving. It's good for the environment, it's good for the future, it's good for everything, and it's truly a small cost in the end. So it's perfect. Thank you so much. It's exactly what we had hoped for.
Alderman Clemmons.
Yeah, I agree with the previous speaker. This is a win-win-win. It's a win for the environment. It's a win for our taxpayers, who will ultimately save money by us going down this road. And it's a win for, just the cleaner air in Nashua. And, so I think I appreciate NFR for finding where we could do this within their fleet, because I know that obviously for emergency vehicles, it's very important that we have something that's reliable, stable, we know how they work, and a lot of times that's the gas vehicles. So I'm happy that you found an area where we could do this, and I'm going to fully support this. I think it just makes sense from a taxpayer's perspective, number one.
Anyone else? Alderman Govea.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. What is the estimated savings per year once we hit that break-even point?
That is a good question. I did not calculate that verbatim, not verbatim, but I can get you those numbers if you need
Sure, that'd
to
be
see
great.
them. Yeah, but there's definitely savings per year
Okay.
on the vehicles after we do an initial payback. I do also want to add that electric vehicles aren't always a one-size-fits-all solution. So in this application for the fire department, it's a great match. But there are some opportunities where an electric vehicle might not be a good match, but maybe a hybrid or something a little bit more creative would work. So I know this is a really good case for it, and I'm excited about it, but I do want to give people some slack when it comes to picking vehicles, whereas sometimes it's not going to work. But the sustainability department is always happy to help people navigate that to see if it's a good fit for them.
I believe the PD now is using hybrid cruisers, right? So
They have hybrid, I think it's Ford Interceptors, I don't want to be incorrect. And they also have an electric vehicle for their animal patrol, which is
Yes.
really cool. It's a Ford E-Transit, and it's a great application for that vehicle as well. I just think when we match electric vehicles to the right application, they really are a win-win.
I think the PD has said that the hybrids get them 6 miles per gallon more than just standard gas. So, and they seem to be working well for the PD. I mean, again, that's hybrid, not fully electric.
Yeah.
If I can.
Yes, Alderman Govea.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. And I think this question might be to you or somebody else, I'm not too sure, but where are we covering the installation? Where's the installation money coming from to set these cars up ready to be charged? Because we said it was being funded from something else, just
Yes.
what is that something else? Do we
So
know?
we are waiting for EECPG funds that we plan on using for electric vehicle charging. So we should be receiving those funds hopefully in the fall, and it really, we think, will align with the timeline when the vehicles come in. I believe they are set to be in service hopefully in July, not July, January? Yeah, after the first of the year, so it should line up pretty well. Also excited to put chargers on the ceiling. It's a pretty cool project.
All right, anyone else? All those in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Next communication from Amy Gerard, Purchasing Manager, Alderman Govea.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. In regard to purchase of ammunition in the amount not to exceed $92,346, funded from 61121 Ammunition and Supplies / General Fund. I'm going to make a motion to accept, place on file, and approve a purchase of ammunition from Eagle Point Guns / TJ Norris and Sons in the amount not to exceed $92,346. Funding will be through Department 150 Police Department, Fund 61121 Ammunition and Supplies / General Fund.
Thank you. Officer Moriarty with the National Police Department Firearms Training Unit.
Go ahead.
Didn't know if you had any questions.
Maybe you don't need any further explanation. It's pretty obvious. You're buying ammunition. Any questions, comments? All those in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Thank you very much. Next communication from Amy Gerard, Purchasing Manager, Alderman Govea.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. In regard to purchase a bulletproof vest in the amount not to exceed $52,189.40, funded from 61110 Protective Clothing / General Fund and 2023 Bulletproof Vest Partnership Grants. I'm going to make a motion to accept, place on file, and approve the purchase of Second Chance SX Level 2 Bulletproof Vest for current officers and potential new hires with All Sport Heroes in the amount not to exceed $52,189.40. Funding will be through Department 150 Police Department, Fund 61110 Protective Clothing / General Fund, $26,094.70. 61110 Protective Clothing / 2023 Bulletproof Vest Partnership Grant, $26,094.70.
All right, so this is grant funds, correct?
Half of it is grant funds, sir.
And
Mayor.
what is the life of a bulletproof vest typically?
5 years.
5 years?
All armor through the National Institute of Justice is 5 years, so it doesn't matter whether it's shields, it doesn't matter what it is, it's all 5-year shelf life.
And then what do you do with the ones you discard? What happens
We
to
have
them?
been working in partnership with the DPW to bury them out there so they don't get into the wrong hands.
Okay.
So they're destroyed so that we don't want them to go anywhere else.
All right. Questions, any comments from anyone? Alderwoman Cleve.
Thank you. So this is like a matching grant. We get a grant and we just match this, just so that I do understand that. And how many, and I'm sure that it's there and I just missed it.
44 vests are
Okay, I
for
do
this
see that. I
year.
apologize that.
No,
I did see
no.
the 44 vests. And this is just an ongoing that we normally get this? Okay, thank you. I'm sorry, I missed the 44. Thank you.
All good.
Anyone else? Alderman Thibodeau.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Of the 44, is that going to create a surplus, or is that the immediate need?
So that is accounting for 26 officers, and then the rest is what we hope to hire. So there's 26 officers vests that are coming up on expiration.
All right, all those in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Motion passes.
Mr. Mayor,
Yes.
I'm in opposition.
Oh, you are?
I
Okay.
am. Yeah.
And we're recording Alderman Thibodeau in opposition. Thank you. Or do we have any, is that it for the police department? Okay,
Yes,
well,
sir.
thank you very much.
Thank you, Mayor.
Next communication from Amy Gerard, Purchasing Manager, Alderman Govea.
In regard to FY25 contract for Smiles for Tomorrow in the amount of $278,000 funded from 55699 other contracted services / Smiles for Tomorrow grant. I'm gonna make a motion to accept, place on file, and award a contract for Providential Dental Services directly on site at the grammar and middle schools for the 2024-2025 school year with traveling tooth fairies in the amount of $278,000. Funding will be through Department 171 Community Services, Fund 55699, other contracted services / Smiles for Tomorrow grant.
Yes.
Yes, good
Bagley.
evening. Bobby Bagley, Division of Public Health Community Services Director. So this will be for the traveling tooth fairies to provide the sealant program in the Nashua schools like they did last year. We were fortunate enough to get the funding through the Delta Dental Services, and so we will contract with Myra Nikitas and her partner, who are both certified public health dental hygienists, to provide these services for this next school year.
Any questions or comments?
I have a comment.
Alderwoman Timmons.
Oh, thank you, Director Bagley. One of the reasons why we should pass this is because the kids benefit by having a good smile and able to go to school and not be conscious of their teeth, or not being able to go to school because they have toothaches or whatever. So I really applaud this program. It really is a win-win for the Nashua school children. So.
Alderwoman Clee.
Thank you. And I just want to make sure that what I said to Director Bagley prior to this is that once we pass this, it does not have to go on to the Board of Aldermen. This is, that I am correct that once we pass this, that the rule of the Finance Committee is as long as it's less than $1 million and that it's only a single year, not a, that it's, am I correct in that?
That's correct.
Okay, thank you.
Alderman Thibodeau.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So with that grant, I did a little bit of digging, and that is not a federal grant. That is a grant from Guardian Life Insurance, if my results were correct. Is that a true statement, or
Delta Dental?
this was from Delta Dental also?
No, the total grant is from Delta Dental.
Okay, thank you.
All right, all those in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes.
Thank you.
Thank you. Next communication from Amy Gerard, Purchasing Manager, Alderman Govea.
In regard to purchase of books and media items in the amount not to exceed $80,000 funded from 61875 Books and 61814 Media Services, I'm going to make a motion to accept, place on file, and approve a single drawdown book purchase and media items with Ingram Library Services in the amount not to exceed $80,000. Funding will be through Department 179, Library Fund 61875, Books / General Fund 60,000, 61875 Books / Henry Stearns Fund 17,000, 61814 Media Services / General Fund $300, 61814 media services /loss/damage book fines $100, 61875 book/loss/damage book fines $300.
All right. Go ahead.
Hi, everyone. Jen McCormick, Director at the library. This is the first year that this purchase order has come to you. I know Amy Gerard is working on tightening things up. So it is our normal practice to open a drawdown PO for Ingram Library Services. We place anywhere from 600 to 700 orders annually from Ingram. It doesn't make sense to do a separate purchase order for each one. Our books and materials and media budget runs close to $200,000 for the year, or $150,000. So this is just a more efficient way to do it, but since it exceeds the cap allowed, we're asking for your approval.
All right, any questions or comments? All those in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Thank you. Next communication from Amy Gerard, Purchasing Manager, Alderman Govea.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. In regard to pavement management services in the amount not to exceed $47,800 funded from 81704 paving bond, I'm going to make a motion to accept, place on file, and approve an engineering contract for the pavement management services with Santec Consulting Services Incorporated of Burlington, Massachusetts, in the amount not to exceed $47,800. Funding will be through Department 160, Admin/Engineering, Fund 81704 Paving Bond.
Mr. Hudson?
Good evening, Dan Hudson, City Engineer. We're in year 8 of 10-year paving program here, and to track our progress and to determine which roads we should be prioritizing paving on, we hire this company to go out and assess our network. They've been doing this since 2016, so we're seeking to continue this year. I'd be happy to address any questions.
Anyone? All those in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Motion passes. Next communication from Amy Gerard, Purchasing Manager, Alderman Govea.
In regard to 2023 Sewer Rehabilitation Program Contract 3, Change Order 4, in the amount not to exceed $368,798, funded from 81700 Infrastructure Improvement/Bond. I'm going to make a motion to accept, place on file, and approve Change Order 4 to the 2023 Sewer Rehabilitation Program Contract 3 with RWC Enterprises of Nashua, New Hampshire, in the amount not to exceed $368,798. Funding will be through Department 169 Wastewater Fund 81700 Infrastructure Improvement/Bond.
Mr. Hudson?
Again, Dan Hudson for the record, City Engineer. So RWC, local contractor, was selected through a competitive bid in 2023 for sewer rehabilitation work. This is the dig work. Basically, we got to dig up the pipes and fix them and structures and things. We have previously extended their contract, but we're seeking to extend it again to be able to complete some additional work. I'd be happy to address any questions.
Anyone? All those in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Motion passes. Next communication from Amy Gerard, Purchasing Manager, Alderman Govea.
In regard to contract for water quality testing in the amount of $205,207.25 funded from 55699 other contracted services/general fund. I'm going to make a motion to accept, place on file, and approve a 3-year contract for water quality testing services at the Nashua landfill sites for the Solid Waste Department with Haley Ward Incorporated of Portsmouth, New Hampshire, in the amount of $205,207.25. Funding will be through Department 168 Solid Waste Fund 55699 other contracted services/general fund.
And I believe Mr. LaFleur is on Zoom.
Yes, sir. Thank you. Jeff LaFleur, Superintendent of Solid Waste. This
Okay.
contract just is water quality testing for all our landfills in the city of Nashua, all the closed ones and the open ones. It's permit driven.
And this is DES required probably, right?
Yes, sir.
Anyone, questions or comments? Alderman Govea.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I guess my question is, what water are we testing?
I'm sorry, you broke up.
What exact water are we testing through this contract?
This is our groundwater, so it tests for PFAS, it tests for any anomalies that they're looking for from our landfills.
Thank you.
So you're checking for any water that's somehow seeping out of the landfill?
Basically,
Yeah.
yes, sir. Basically anything that's contaminating if there isn't contaminants.
All right. All those in favor of the motion say aye.
Mr. Mayor.
Oh, yes. Alderman Clee.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I see that one of your vendors is from Chem Service. It says it no longer able to fulfill the contract. They had the contract in the previous years, is that correct?
Yes, they did. This it actually got bought out by another company, and they did not want to honor our contract. So we're actually going to go through legal to fight that. But we decided to go with the second lowest bidder that can do everything for us.
Okay, thank you very much.
All those in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Next communication from Amy Gerard, Purchasing Manager, Alderman Govea.
In regard to purchase of a 624 tier wheel loader in the amount not to exceed $377,350, funded from 81500 vehicle/surf, I'm going to make a motion to accept, place on file, and approve the purchase of one 624P tier John Deere wheeled loader from United Construction and Forestry in the amount not to exceed $377,350. Funding will be through Department 161 Streets, Fund 81500 Vehicles Activity.
And I believe Mr. Rush is on Zoom.
Good evening. Little technical difficulties on the Zoom tonight, so I apologize.
Well, we can hear you, so.
Michael Rush, Fleet Superintendent. This wheeled loader is a scheduled surf purchase to replace our older 2015 Caterpillar wheeled loader. This is used for snow operations as well as some of our street projects, our digs, and assist in landfill when needed also. The loader in question that's being replaced will be moved to the backline unit and kept as a spare, but will still be used as a primary snow fighter in the winter to help clear the snow off of the roadways and downtown.
All right.
Answer any questions you have on this scheduled surf purchase.
Anyone? Alderman Govea.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Looking at this purchase, the old one is under 10 years old. So is it needed to upgrade as of right
now? It'll be pretty close. I would say that we would be looking to either try to trade in or sell this in the next 3 years. These machines, as opposed to working in the dirt, they also work in the salt and the brine environment all winter. Equipment, especially the electronic parts. We do try to retire the units and get some value out of them instead of selling them for scrap. So that's why we usually replace equipment of this type about every 8 to 10 years.
Yes, Alderman Govea.
So we're going to take this one that is in current use and use it as a backup and then resell it in 3 to 5 years, if I'm hearing you correct. Is that correct?
Yes. Well, it's no longer, fiscally responsible to keep dumping money into it for repairs and whatnot.
Okay, and just one final follow-up.
Yes, go ahead.
What would be the difference if we were to remove that one now, sell now for a higher price to kind of knock this price down a little bit more? Or is it needed for daily operations as a backup?
No, we would also use it for daily operations as well. It's not something that's just going to sit there and we might need it one day. We'll use it to rotate the other equipment when it breaks down or other maintenance is needed on other equipment. Typically in the wintertime, it's all machines on deck, whether they're backline or not. They all go to work. As long as we have personnel to fill those machines, they're out there clearing the roadways in the wintertime.
Anyone else? All those in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Next communication from Amy Gerard, Purchasing Manager, Alderman Govea.
In regard to purchase of replacement mower in the amount of $167,182.97 funded from 81500 vehicle/surf. I'm gonna make a motion to approve the purchase of one 2024 Turo GM 5910 Groundmaster mower from Turf Products in the amount of $167,182.97. Funding will be through Department 177 Parks and Recreation, Fund 81500 vehicle/surf.
No, you missed one.
Well, we can go back.
Yeah, all right, so we, let's deal with this one, and we'll go back to the backhoe. So,
Would you like,
Mr. Rush, we're on the mower.
Brian Conant, Superintendent of the
sorry,
Parks
this-
Department. That was, okay. Good evening, everyone. Brian Conant, Superintendent of the Parks Department. This is a scheduled replacement. The Parks Department has about 150 acres to mow. We use these mowers. They have a 16-foot width. They can travel down the road. They're capable of cutting about 20 acres in about an hour. We use it in a lot of our big area mowing. It's essential to our operation. I'd be happy to answer any questions if there are any.
Questions, comments? All those in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Motion passes.
Thank you.
Next the communication from Amy Gerard, Purchasing Manager, Alderman Govea.
So I'm gonna make, it will be a communication
Well,
regard
let me-
to.
If it's not on your sheet, let me just ask, Mr. Rush, are you looking for the backhoe approval tonight?
Yeah.
Yes,
Okay, go ahead then.
Mr. Mayor, we are.
Okay.
It's missing on
It's
some
on
of
the
our
pink sheet.
paperwork.
Yeah, it's on the pink sheet, but missing on our
Yeah.
writing here, so it's a communication in regard to purchase of one 4110P tier backhoe in the amount not to exceed $191,000, funded from 81500 vehicle/surf. And I will make a motion to accept, place on file, and approve the purchase.
Michael Rush, Fleet Superintendent. This is a scheduled surf purchase for the Park Department to replace a 2013 backhoe. This equipment has corrosion to the undercarriage as well as the electrical components. This asset will be traded in towards the new one, so there will be no backline unit or backup unit for the Parks Department in regards to the backhoe. I'm happy to answer any questions you have on this scheduled surf purchase.
Any questions, comments regarding the backhoe? All those in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. You got what you need?
Got it, okay.
All right, next communication from Amy Gerard, Purchasing Manager, Alderman Govea.
In regard to landscaping enhancements behind the library in the amount not to exceed $9,430, funded from 55699 other contracted services / Riverfront TIF Fund. I'm going to make a motion to accept, place on file, and award a contract for enhancements to the east side riverfront behind the library with the Dottie Group in the amount not to exceed $9,430. Funding will be through Department 183 Economic Development Fund 55699 other contracted services / Riverfront TIF Fund.
Ms. Hannum.
Liz Hannum, Economic Development Director. This is additional to our maintenance on the east side of Main Street on the riverfront. We wanted to add some trees and some rose bushes and things like that since we've kind of taken the west side out of commission, we wanted to make the east side be a little bit nicer and add some shade and things like that. So this contract, we already have an existing maintenance contract, but this would be an additional contract with them to make those upgrades.
Anyone? Alderwoman Timmons.
Thank you, Mayor. I have one question. Is this for this particular season or is it for next season?
It's for this season.
Alderwoman Clee.
Thank you. Is this coming out of the TIF fund?
Yep. Yeah, so that it'll be cash. Yep.
And may I?
Yes.
This is right in behind the library where we got rid of all the trees and everything else like that. Is
Yes,
that
yeah,
correct?
so it'll be the, kind of the staff parking lot area where the walkway is.
Okay.
And it will also be on the other side of the river, on the Jackson Falls condo area. We're gonna put a few rose bushes and things in that area.
Okay, so where all that growth was happening?
Yes, yep.
Okay, thank you.
All those in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Motion passes. Next communication from Amy Gerard, Purchasing Manager, Alderman Govea.
In regard to landscaping services in the amount of $44,985, I just did that one, my apologies. In regard to contract for professional consulting services in the amount of $360,000 funded
No,
from.
you had,
No, you didn't
Nope.
do
You
that
had it
one.
right.
You were
Okay, so we
right.
have two in a row here?
Yeah.
Yes.
By Dottie Group, okay.
Yeah.
This should not be
Oh, wait, he's
Dottie
got to
Group.
he's got to do the
Because I
motion.
have.
Do
There
the
should be,
44.
there's two
so the
landscaping.
44,000.
Yes, that's the one.
985.
Gotcha.
Yeah,
Yep,
That's the
okay.
right one.
Communication in regard to landscaping services in the amount of $44,985, funded from 55699, other contracted services / downtown improvement ETF. Make a motion to accept, place on file, and award a contract for replacement of landscaping beds along the Main Street with Moran's Landscaping in the amount of $44,985. Funding will be through Department 183, Economic Development, Fund 55699, other contracted services / downtown improvement ETF.
Ms. Hannum?
Liz Hannum, Economic Development Director. The Downtown Improvement Committee has decided that they would like to reinvigorate the planters on Main Street. The Parks Department has done a really good job with the medians, and the ones on the sidewalk are looking a little sad. And so they decided that they wanted to do that. So we went out to an RFP. We had two bidders, and they went with Moran's because it was a lower cost.
Anyone? All those in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Motion passes. Next communication from Amy Gerard, Purchasing Manager, Alderman Govea.
In regard to contract for professional consulting services in the amount of $360,000 funded from 53452 staffing services / general fund. I'm going to make a motion to accept, place on file, and award a 3-year contract for professional consulting services to assist the assessing office to focus on inspection type services only and reducing the consulting services providing chief assessor duties with Whitney Consulting Group in the amount of $360,000. That's $120,000 annually. Funding will be through Department 132 Assessing Fund 53452 Staffing Services / General Fund.
Mr. Cummings?
Yes, thank you, Mayor. And for the record, Tim Cummings, Director of Administrative Services. Before I continue on this evening, I wanted to take a moment and recognize our new hire. We have Michelle Welch with the new assessing manager for the city. And this contract actually is relative to consulting services, and it is cost neutral. It is where we're taking some of the services that were previously in the Vision contract, we're segregating it out and giving it to the Whitney Consulting Group to provide the services, because Vision wasn't going to be able to provide the services for us any longer and provide us with the level of service we needed. And so therefore, after reaching out to a few various consulting groups soliciting the market, Whitney Consulting Group did come back to us with a proposal, and so it's here before you this evening, and I'm asking for your approval.
Anyone? All those in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Next communication from Amy Gerard, Purchasing Manager, Alderman Govea.
In regard to contract for professional services for the National Downtown Improvement Project in the amount of $4,640, funded from 81700 Infrastructure Improvements / Riverfront TIF Fund. I'm going to make a motion to accept, place on file, and award a 3-year contract with Park McDowell for concept design for the River Walk enhancements / signage at Bicentennial Park in the amount of $4,640. Funding will be through Department 183 Economic Development Fund 81700 Infrastructure Improvements / Riverfront TIF Fund.
Ms. Hannum?
Liz Hannum, Economic Development Director. This is to design a entranceway into the new parks, Bicentennial and the Boardwalk, into Renaissance Park. So we wanted something to kind of make a splash and invite people to come in to our new park. So we're doing this with the understanding that we won't be able to do it if we get close to our bond authorization amount. So we are trying to see if we have money still in the budget for this. So we need a concept design before we can do that.
Discussion? Alderwoman Clee.
Okay, thank you. So you're just going to look for a concept design if at the end of the project you have enough money,
Then we'll
then
implement.
you will do it.
Yeah.
But if not, you'll abandon the project, but you won't know unless you've got a design in hand and so on. Okay.
That's essentially,
got it.
and I hope to eventually do it no matter what, but we would have to look for alternative funds source of funds if we don't have them at the end.
Got it.
Alderman Clemmons.
So this contract here, when they develop something, we will own the rights to that design? Is that correct?
Mhm.
Okay.
All right, all those in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Motion passes. The next communication is an emergency, from me, an emergency PO request. If there are no questions about this one, we will accept it and place it on file. Following that, there is a communication from William Mansfield concerning the resolution R-24-069. Again, not asking for any action pursuant to the memo, but regarding the item below under new business. So if there are no questions there, we will accept that and place it on file. And then we have a communication from Lisa Foto, Director of Public Works, also concerning Resolution 24-069. Without objection, we will accept that and place it on file. Now, there are two communications which were received after the agenda was prepared, and I believe our clerk has those. The first being a communication from, the first being a communication concerning a change order. Alderman, do you have a motion, Alderman Govea?
Yes. This is for change order number 4 in the amount of $15,428, funded from 81700 Infrastructure Improvements / Riverfront TIF Bond. Is that correct?
Correct.
Excellent. I will make a motion to accept, place on file, and approve change order 4 with Ed Sweat Incorporated to address miscellaneous changes in the work related to coal tar epoxy coating, a graduated polyurethane pipe under drain steel, wow, this is a mouthful, handrail modification, containment and testing of contaminated groundwater, as well as removal of some unused original contract items in the amount of $15,428.16. Funding will be through Department 183 Economic Development, Fund 81700 Infrastructure Improvements / Riverfront TIF Bond.
Ms. Hannah?
Liz Hannum?
Good job.
Yeah, Economic Development Director. This is for the ADA ramp that is on the Cotton Mill Bridge side, which is now open. It's very exciting. We'll have a ribbon cutting later this month. But this is kind of a odds and ends balancing sheet. In your package, there is a itemized list of things, so you can see what those odds and ends are, and where we got debits and where we got credits. So, it came out to 15,000 that we would need additional.
All right, anybody? All those in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Motion passes. The next communication which we received after the agenda was a communication from Nick Misevich. Alderman Govea.
In regard to software and hardware maintenance in the amount of $59,032.85 funded from 54407 software maintenance and 54414 hardware maintenance. I am going to make a motion to accept, place on file, and approve a 12-month renewal required for the continued operation of UKG software and equipment support services with UKG Chronos Systems LLC in the amount of $59,032.85. Funding will be through Department 120 Technology Maintenance, Fund 54407, Software Maintenance / General Fund, $56,930.28, and 54414 Hardware Maintenance, $2,102.57.
Mr. Misevich?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Nick Misevich, Chief Information Officer for the City of Nashua. As stated, this is for our annual renewal of the Chronos software that the city uses to keep track of time for all of its employees. This is a reduction from last year because we received notification from Chronos that the majority of our time clocks are going to end of life early next spring. So there's no point in paying for the hardware maintenance on those items for another 6-7 months.
All right, anybody? Alderman Clemmons.
So what's the larger impact on that?
Yeah, I was just gonna ask.
I'm working with Director Cummings on a plan to replace those time clocks. So more to follow on that. If any go down, I do have a spare that I can put in place, and then I'll just have to purchase a new time clock to replace that spare out of my operating budget.
Alderman Clemmons.
I'm glad you started with the good news.
Anyone else? All those in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes.
Thank you.
Unfinished business resolutions, we
Mr.
have
Mayor?
nothing. Oops.
Mr. Mayor,
Cummings, yes.
I apologize. I wanted to come back up here again regarding my communication where I was seeking approval to clarify something for the record. So again, Tim Cummings, Director of Administrative Services. Your outline reads, and Alderman Gouveia did an excellent job in reading the motion, but I wanted it clear for the record because I know the sensitive nature assessing is, but the motion read that to accept, place on file, and award a 3-year contract for professional consulting services to the assessing office to focus on inspectional type services only, reducing the consulting services provided for chief assessor duties. That threw me for a loop. I don't know if you noticed, I kind of stumbled up here for a second, and so it took me a little minute to get my bearings. It needs to be reversed. So just so everyone is aware, I want the record clear. What we are doing is we're separating the duties of the two, but this contract before you is going to be for chief inspectional assessing service duties, and the inspectional duties or the inspectional services will still remain with Vision. So I just want to make sure that that was clear for everyone, because the outline is a little confusing.
Well, we've approved the contract. Does anyone wish to revisit that because of this clarification?
So what is, okay, now I'm confused.
I think we should revisit
Yeah.
and get it clear, so there would be no.
We need
All right,
to
let's go
change the
back to
motion,
that.
yeah.
Fine, well, let's go back to that item, which is,
To be here, Mr. Mayor, I believe we need a motion of reconsideration on the communication.
Yes, I agree.
yeah, why don't we proceed in that fashion?
I will make a motion to reconsider the contract for professional consulting services in the amount of $360,000 funded from 53452 staffing services / general fund.
All those in favor of the motion for reconsideration, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. So we are back to the contract. Now, you're suggesting that the motion should
The motion.
accurately reflect the contract, which is simply for chief assessing services, correct?
That's correct, Mayor, yes.
Can you say how it should read?
Sure, happy to. So the motion by Alderman Govea to accept, place on file, and award a 3-year contract for professional consulting services to assist the assessing office by providing chief assessor duties with the Whitney Consulting Group in the amount of $360,000 or $120,000 annually.
And
Okay,
does
so what is
Alderman
it we're getting rid
Govea
of?
adopt that motion? Meaning, do you say you so moved, so to speak? Or someone else? I don't know. Someone has to make that motion.
That's fine, yes.
Yeah, so
Can we
moved.
just go over this one more time, please, for
Yes.
the record?
Yeah.
Well,
You
let's
ha-
make
you
the
have the script
motion,
in
and
front of us,
let's
so tell
do
us
the
what to
motion.
scratch.
Let's do the motion and then go over it again
Okay.
in discussion.
Yes. So
So-
I will move his amendment.
So moved by Alderman Govea, but let's go through it one more time.
Okay.
So again, it would be a motion, as I understand it now on the floor, is a motion by Alderman Govea to accept, place on file, and award a 3-year contract for professional consulting services to assist the assessing office relative to providing chief assessor duties with the Whitney Consulting Group in the amount of $360,000 or $120,000 annually.
And the difference that is reflected in the new motion is that
What
the
words do we scratch?
services which were previously included were incorrect and should be left out. And those services were, the ones that were incorrectly included were what?
The inspectional type services, which the inspectional type services are currently housed in the vision contract and will continue to remain in the vision contract.
Okay. And maybe briefly describe what chief inspection services are?
Yes, happy to, Mayor. Again, Tim Cummings, Director of Administrative Services. So our chief assessor type duties, which under DRA would be known as your assessing supervisor, that would be your most senior person to sign off on valuations in your assessing office. And we do not have that current credential here internally with the city, so we need to be in good accordance or in good stead with the DRA, need to have that service available to us, and the Whitney Consulting Group is going to provide that for us.
Alderman Clemmons.
Yeah, and just to clarify, so that was originally going to be done by the original group. So that contract is reduced by the same amount, is that correct?
I believe, yes, I haven't gotten that far in the conversation with Vision, but yes, I anticipate the Vision contract will be reduced due to the reduction of that service no longer being provided. It was previously provided under the Vision contract.
Yeah, okay.
Anyone else? All right, all those in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Motion passes. Now we'll go back to the regular, thank you for the clarification. We will go back to the regular order of agenda, unfinished business.
Point of order, Mr. Mayor.
Yes, Alderman
So
Govea.
we passed amended language. Don't we have to repass the communication as amended now? Or are we good to go?
No.
No, we're good to go, yes.
Because we reconsider it, so.
We
this is-
reconsidered, then did a new motion,
Yeah.
clean.
Perfect.
Cleaning it up.
Yep.
All right, unfinished business, we have none tabled in committee. We don't have anything. New business resolutions, R 24-069. Alderman Govea.
Authorizing a tower cell site lease agreement with Dish Wireless LLC regarding a wireless communication facility located at 10 Whipple Street. I'm going to make a motion to recommend final passage.
And although Mr. Mansfield is not here, the explanation is provided in his memo, which we accepted as a communication, along with support from Ms. Photo and the Board of Public Works. Any comments or questions or regarding this? All those in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. We have new business, ordinances, none. Record of expenditures, Alderman Govea.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'm going to make a motion that the Finance Committee has compiled with the city charter and ordinances pertaining to the record of expenditures for the periods from June 28, 2024 to July 11, 2024, and July 12, 2024 to August 1, 2024.
Any discussion? All those in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Motion passes. General discussion. Any items of general discussion? Alderman Thibodeau.
I don't know what the, thank you. I don't know what the protocol is. Is it possible to change a vote on an item that we voted on?
I would allow that, yes. What do you want to vote?
The Main Street landscaping, I initially voted yes. I would like to vote in opposition to that item.
Mr. Mayor, these are voice votes. We don't record the final tally.
Well, you could be recorded in opposition still.
I can do that. Okay. Yes, I can mark in the.
So we'll record you in opposition.
I think sometimes Donna does give the name of the one when opposition, so you
Alderman
can, yeah.
Clemmons.
Yeah, I think I would agree that it would be in order only because it's not going to change the outcome. I think if we had,
Right.
if this was going to change just for future protocol, I just think if it was going to change the outcome, if there was a number of us, then you would need to have somebody on the prevailing side of that vote do a reconsideration.
Yeah.
But in this case, I don't think it matters.
Right.
Alderman Thibodeau,
I think that's correct.
Communication is that on one more time, just so I have the correct one?
The landscaping
The
one.
Main Street landscaping.
The downtown improvement one.
I remember the number on it.
It's the one with
You're right, that's the way it should go.
44,985.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, the one with
What's the amount, just so we
That
have
was
it?
44,000 something.
985.
985?
Yes.
Okay, I will put you down.
All right, we got it.
Thank you.
Yep.
Second from the top on the back page. All right, any other general discussion? Public comments. Any member of the public wish to address the committee? I don't see anyone. Remarks by aldermen. Do any aldermen wish to make remarks? If not, Alderwoman Clee.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. At this time, I would like to make a motion for adjournment.
All those in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
And the meeting of the Finance Committee is adjourned at 7:58 PM.